I had different plans for my video this week. However, when I went to go play, I noticed my Switch 2 wouldn't connect to the internet. And once I looked into the code, I found out my Switch 2 got banned. Let's get into it. There was a device that came out a while back called a MigSwitch. And the idea was pretty cool. You could put however many games you want onto a single cart and play them off that. As someone who prefers to own physical copies of my games, I thought this was the perfect solution for me. So, I put a handful of my games that I own and paid for onto the MigSwitch. And it worked on my Switch OLED pretty well, allowing me to just flip between games without having to grab all the cases. However, when I first got my Switch 2, I tried to insert my MigSwitch only to find out it didn't work. So I just wrote it off as it wasn't compatible and figured it was probably something to do with the new SD card requirement. And I just went back to grabbing my physical copies and playing games that way. With that, all was well for over a week. That is, until I sat down to play an online game of Mario Kart on Monday, June 16th, where I got hit with an error code. At first, I thought maybe something in the device was faulty and probably needed to be sent off for repairs. So I tried calling Nintendo support, and they told me my brand new Switch 2 device had been permanently banned from online play due to a violation of terms of service. And yeah, that is a hard pill to swallow. Since I had used a cartridge that was unsanctioned by Nintendo, they could pretty much make my device useless, even though it didn't even work when I tried to use it. But it gets better. I then went to my Switch OLED and tried to load up some of my virtual game cards that were on my Switch 2, and I couldn't even get access to any digital games I'd purchased, because they're loaded on my Switch 2 before it got banned. Of course, to access your virtual game cards, it requires all devices to be online. I'm sure there has to be some way to solve this, since your device could get destroyed or factory reset. But still, all this hassle just because I wanted a handful of my games in one convenient place is a huge smack in the face. I had heard rumors Nintendo could brick your console before the Switch 2 launched, but I figured I was fine since I own all my game copies and wasn't doing anything illegal. Obviously I was wrong. It doesn't matter the reason. If you aren't using your console the Nintendo way, then they can make it useless. Like I said, it's a tough pill to swallow. If I want full access to the Switch 2 experience, I have to go out and buy an entirely new console, assuming I can even find one. And since I don't actually make any money from my YouTube videos, it could be a while before I get back to covering the things I wanted with the Switch 2. Overall, I hope you or no one else experiences what I did. And I know Nintendo has every right, according to the terms of service that I obviously didn't read when setting up my console. But let me know what you think about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Also, leave a comment, cause I respond to those pretty often. And as always, I'll catch you next time.